My name is Emma Tropay, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. Just a little bit about me before we jump in. Like I said, my name is Emma Tropay. I'm 21 and I'm a mental health advocate on TikTok and Instagram. And a lot of you guys were like, hey, you should start a YouTube channel. So here I am starting a YouTube channel. I was originally going to do a Q&A for my first video, but I realized that a lot of you wanted to talk about my mental health. So I decided that I'm going to make my first video my story. I've shared part of my story online in 30-second clips on TikTok and Instagram for 4 years now. And I think it's time that I finally get it all out. If you want to hear my story and maybe you can relate to it, then let's find our road to recovery together. I wanted to first give a quick trigger warning for anyone who's watching this because I am going to be talking about pretty heavy stuff like depression, self-harm, suicide, and other similar topics. So if any of those are triggering for you, please watch with caution or don't watch it all because I really just care about your health and I don't want you to get triggered in any way. Originally, I was in a pretty happy household. My parents were married, me and my brother were fine, healthy kids, pretty attractive, what can I say? But what you don't see behind the veil of a happy family is the abuse that my dad was putting me through. He was both physically and verbally abusive to me. The worst situation was in 7th grade when I had refused to brush my teeth because my pride got me in so much trouble, and it still does get me in a lot of trouble. And my dad's pride clashed with mine, and he dragged me off my bed onto my bed frame, sliced my back open. After that, he was sent away to a facility where he could get better because my dad suffered from a lot of mental issues as well. Now my dad and I have a great relationship. We're best friends because we both chose to grow and get better together. Separately, but together. While this was going on, I was starting middle school after being homeschooled for a few years. So obviously I was the odd kid out. I also had undiagnosed ADHD, which made things 10 times worse for me because everyone knew it but me. And they all talked about it behind my back. I found a group of friends, or at least I thought I found a group of friends, but they kind of bullied me. Not kinda. They bullied me severely, physically, mentally, verbally, would punch me during gym so that they could get away with hurting me and call it an accident. And nobody believed me. I would come home with bruises and the only person that would believe me was my mom. They basically tormented me for 3 years of my life. And it sucked because the only reason they were picking on me was because I was a little bit different because I had ADHD and I was homeschooled, so my social skills weren't as great as they could have been. And kids are mean. Kids are very, very mean. They even started an I Hate Emma club, which people joined. That was really sucky. We had something called Grit Day at my school, which was basically everyone would dress up in like a funny costume. And the girl who was leading the group of girls invited me to be part of it. And then literally the day before uninvited me so that I had to sit out and watch all of them do it together. This led to my first experiences with depression. In 7th grade, I for the first time, and it scared me how much I liked it. I also, in 7th grade, attempted for the first time. And I tried telling my mom about my depression, but she didn't fully understand it at the time. Now she's a huge mental health advocate, so please keep that in mind while I tell this story because it doesn't make her look the best. I had a total of 5 attempts between 7th grade and my junior year of high school. I also had a total of 5 concussions, severe concussions. I even lost my ability to read for 3 months after my last one. Even now, I still struggle with my reading comprehension and have to use audiobooks or text-to-speech programs. One of my fellow students in my freshman year of high school thought I had ADHD. One of my teachers also joked about me having ADHD, and that kind of sent me like spiraling. I was like, oh my god, ADHD, I'm not normal, everything's wrong, everyone hates me, like blah blah blah. Which should have been the first sign that like something was really wrong with me. I begged my mom to let me get tested and she really didn't want me to get tested because she doesn't like the idea of labeling. I can completely understand, but I think that labeling is important because it helps people get the help that they need. So I begged her to let me get tested and eventually she did, and it turned out I was in the 99th percentile, which means that I was severely ADHD. A little kid, unmedicated, running around with crazy energy and thoughts because it's still me. Like, I'm not medicated now for ADHD. Like, it's still there. But, like, I was way worse as a child. And my pride coming in, like, I did not back down from anyone, including teachers, which got me in so much trouble. So much trouble. Anyway, I got diagnosed with ADHD. And this led me to finally getting diagnosed with other things later down the road. My junior year of high school, things were getting pretty bad. I could feel the depression leading up to another attempt. It was before my final one. Ooh. I reached out to my mom again for help, asked her to let me see a therapist, and she luckily did. She was exactly what I needed in that moment. My first therapy session, I went in with sweats that I'd been wearing for 5 days straight. I sat there, slumped in a chair, miserable. My last session, I came in smiling. I was wearing new clothes that I'd picked out that day. I sat down in the beanbag chair, laughed the whole time. My therapist actually was the one who was like, hey, like, I think that you need to go see a psychiatrist. I think medication would be very helpful for you. So I begged my mom to let me get medication because I was desperate. Like, I was so sad all the time. And I just wanted to stop feeling sad. So after breakdown after breakdown after breakdown in front of my mom, she finally let me get on a list to see a psychiatrist. A little bit of time goes by, I finally get in to see them, and they diagnosed me with depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, and anorexia. Anorexia was the big shocker there because I didn't think I had an eating disorder, but turns out I did. That's one of the things that's scary about eating disorders is that you can often not know that you have one because a lot of the times it's unconscious. You don't realize, like, the cause of what is happening. So that psychiatrist put me on Prozac. At the same time, I was put on birth control to help with my period because my flow was so heavy, sorry TMI, that I was developing a severe iron deficiency. The thoughts that Prozac made me have were so awful. I cannot recommend Prozac to anyone. They put you on it at first because they think it's like this one size fits all, but it's not. Maybe it works for some people, and if it works for you, that's great. But everyone that I've ever met who's been on Prozac has had an awful time on it. It made my thoughts so much worse, and I ended up attempting for the 5th time. The morning after, I woke up and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this. I can't be sad like this anymore. I want to wake up and I want to go out and see the world. I don't want to stay in my bed because the world feels too heavy. I don't want to live like there's a boulder on my chest the rest of my life. So I forced myself out of bed and started waking up at 5 a.m. every single morning. Whether or not I got up and did anything didn't matter. It was just that I woke up at 5 a.m. And the reason I did this was because there was someone named Ellie on TikTok. You guys may have seen her. She started this 5 a.m. series where every morning she would wake up and do something different at 5 a.m. for her mental health. And that changed my life. I would wake up, go sit in the shower, literally sit because I didn't have the energy to stand, and just let the hot water hit me while I scrolled through her videos every single morning. I went through every single one of her videos until I was able to get up at 5 a.m. every morning, go to the gym, come back, go to school, go to work. I was finally stable again. During this time, I was still seeing that psychiatrist. She eventually, once I turned 18, diagnosed with bipolar 1 rapid cycling disorder, which means that here's happy, here's sad. That's like the peak of human emotions. Bipolar people feel up here. So when I'm sad, I'm up here, while most people are down here. You can either have a mixed episode, which is depression symptoms and mania symptoms together, which is the most dangerous place for a person with bipolar to be. You could have a depressive episode or a manic episode. If you guys want to know more about bipolar, the episodes that I have, please let me know. I'd be happy to do a video on that. But for now, I'm just going to speed run all of this. Somehow, I graduated high school because the amount of school I missed was ridiculous. Between my 5 concussions, my mental illnesses, my physical illnesses, which I'm not really talking about in this video because they're too complicated and I don't really have an answer for them. So I don't want to talk about that and then like leave you guys hanging. Like, what is that? What is that? Because I don't know. But somehow, I graduated high school with a 4.24 GPA, and I moved down to Florida to go to school here, which was like my dream for the longest time. My first year of college, super fun. Turned out I was manic for half of it, but I started recovering from my eating disorder, which was very exciting because this was the first time I had started like eating consistently, gaining weight, and not hating myself for it. And I just overall found a lot more self-love in my heart. I was still waking up at 5 a.m. if I could, and everything was great until the last day of the school year when I lost all of my friends in one day. And then I moved back to Tennessee for the summer. I had no friends. My boyfriend was long distance with me, and I was taking summer classes. It was a lot. And I fell into one of the worst depressions of my entire life. Probably the worst depression in my entire life. I couldn't get off the couch. I was wearing the same clothes for weeks. I was not showering for weeks. I could hardly eat for weeks. Everything was awful. I got sent to a psych ward by my psychiatrist. They put me on some new medication, and that helped a little bit. But when I got back to school after the rest of the summer, a week into the school year, I fell into another huge depression, and I withdrew from all my classes, withdrew from the school for the semester. I wasn't functioning. I went to an inpatient facility that my therapist sent me to, and it was probably one of the worst experiences of my life. I was there for a week before I left AMA, which is against medical advice. They let me see a psychiatrist. I was on the same meds that were causing the problem from a week prior. I couldn't talk to my boyfriend. I couldn't talk to my mom for more than 10 minutes a day, and I only got to choose one of them. So truly, it was an awful experience. When I got out, that semester was pretty freaking hard. Like, I was really struggling. But I tried really hard, and I slowly started to get my life back. Now I still struggle with my OCD especially, but my bipolar episodes are much more under control. And now I use my story to raise awareness for everybody else who's struggling. My goal now is to use my social media platforms to raise awareness for people who went through the same thing I did, who are struggling and can't get help, who are struggling and their parents don't believe them, who are struggling and they're getting bullied. I just want to help the world one video at a time, and I hope that you will all join me for that ride. Thank you. Bye.